Ladies and gentlemen, my guest today on Chair Shots to the Cranium is a man who is recognized all over the world as one of the most charismatic professional wrestlers to ever step inside the ring. He's had great success in the WWE and all over the world. He's a multiple WWE Cruiserweight Champion and Tag Team Champion, and he's packing independent arenas all over the country. I'm proud to introduce as my guest today, Hurricane Helms. First off, thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview with me today.
Oh, it's my pleasure, man. I'm glad. Thanks for having me.
Tell the fans how you're doing and what occupies most of your time these days.
I'm doing great, man, and my time is as busy as I've been pretty much in my career right now, to be honest with you.
That's great.
At the height of my popularity in WWE, I was, gone 4 or 5 days a week. So that would absolutely be the busiest time. But the indie scene and my work with Ring of Honor now, and all the side projects I got, man, I feel like I'm juggling 3 careers. So, but no complaints. That's much. I'm a happy little camper at the moment.
That's great, man. Now you're getting into the ring at Universal Championship Wrestling's hometown Throwdown show in Barnesville, Georgia on August the 11th. You'll be facing off with the Tokyo Monster Kahagas. Tell us about this matchup and your experience so far with Universal Championship Wrestling.
I worked for Universal Championship Wrestling a few months. I thought it was a great company, very professional. Old school fans, they like the bad guy. They hate the bad guys. They like the good guys. That's
Right.
the type of old school storytelling that I prefer. Obviously being the superhero, if I can find me a good villain, that's the ideal scenario for me. And the Tokyo Monster kind of fits that bill perfectly.
He does. Now, how does your style of wrestling match up with his? Have you guys been in the ring before?
No, I've never wrestled him, but I know of him and I've seen his matches. So I think it'll be pretty entertaining. He's a hard-hitting guy, and I can give as well as I get. So, with the Hurricane, you're always going to get some entertainment. But, just like I showed recently in my Ring of Honor stuff, you can't underestimate the wrestling skills.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you 100% on that. Now, as you know, Universal Championship Wrestling prides itself on involving the community into their shows and giving back to local charities. This event is partnered with the Barnesville Police Department to help the youth in that area. Now, independent wrestling, I think, in my personal opinion, is bigger than it's been in many, many years. It's exploding. But how do you feel independent wrestling is underutilized for good causes such as this?
It depends on the company. It is a good way. When I ran a company called Omega out of North Carolina, and we made a point to every time we did a show to find a way to give something to their local communities, or make a wish, or something of that nature. In North Carolina, I know we did something with the Autism Society a few times. With Make-A-Wish, we flew a kid in from Germany to meet Jeff Hardy, who was on the show. So it's up to the company, You always want to do what you can. I've always believed that if everybody does a little, nobody has to do a lot. So
yeah, great point. As I mentioned in my opening statement, your character is well known in the world of professional wrestling, even though your gimmick was introduced well over 15 years ago, and that's so hard to believe at times flying by. But what do you contribute to the longevity of the Hurricane character?
Just the superhero, that ideal of the ultimate good guy, that never gets old. That's a story that's as old as time itself. So, and not to mention the underdog story, the story of the little guy that's constantly fighting the struggle against the bigger, badder guy. So, it's a story that a lot of people can relate to. And if you look at Hollywood right now, superhero movies have been, dominating Hollywood for 15 years about now, I would say. So,
great point. You're exactly right.
It's just, like I say, it's just a story that so many people can relate to. And who hasn't at some point in their life wished they could be a superhero?
Oh, absolutely. This guy right here, I can tell you that right now. You're still in fantastic shape. How have you maintained your great in-ring shape and conditioning?
Well, there was some up and downs. I tore my ACL a few years ago, and that was on my right leg. And on my left leg, I had ankle fusion. And so there was a period there where I couldn't get in the gym at all. And so the dad bod kind of got to me a little bit. So I had my ups and downs, but right now, my fiance, she's a competitive figure competitor, and believe it or not, she's the best trainer I've ever had. And I have guys in the gym that at first they try to make little wisecracks like you getting trained by a girl, that sort of thing.
Right.
But I told them all, like, she wins trophies for her bodies. Have you ever won one?
Yeah, good point.
It kind of shuts them all up because I ain't won one either. I ain't even got a ribbon for mine, And she's got all kind of trophies for her. So honestly, I just follow her around the gym and I don't even ask a lot of questions. You tell me what to do, I'll do it.
Right. That's great. You have somebody there that can push you and motivate you and get you in the right direction. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and two, it says I know I got to do it.
Right.
It's not like working out ain't always fun. Sometimes it's the last thing in the world you want to do. But especially, when you tip over that 40 mark, you got to start taking care of yourself in a little different way than you did when you were younger.
Yeah, no doubt.
When I was younger, I didn't ever have to do abs. I had abs till I was about 35. They were just always there.
Mm-hmm.
I had good metabolism, good genetics. And then 35 hit, and they just decided they were going to go elsewhere. And they didn't even talk to me about it. They just up and left.
That's the way it goes, right? Now, Hurricane Helms was inspired by the Green Lantern, as many fans know. You're a big fan of the superhero. Did you pitch this idea to Vince? How was the Hurricane born?
No, I didn't pitch it at all. I was a very accredited amateur wrestler. I wanted to, and I grew up with the NWA style, which wasn't quite as character driven as what the WWF universe would be.
Mm-hmm.
WWF when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So I was more of a style of the Ric Flair, type thing. So how you saw me as Sugar Shane Helms in WCW, that was what I wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
Then when WWEF at the time bought WCW, well, now we got a whole bunch of guys under one roof clamoring for TV time, and that was the hardest time in the business ever that it was to stand out. Or to get over, as we say in the business.
Right.
Because you had ECW's gone, WCW's gone, there's just WWE now. And it wasn't just WWE either. It was the titans of the industry. It was Rock, Stone Cold, Undertaker, Triple H, Kane, the Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian, Dudley's. It was the most stacked roster of all time.
Yeah, no doubt.
Then you have this little, virtually unknown. I was known in WCW because I was the last Cruiserweight champion, but the WWE universe wasn't really familiar with me at all. And WWE, they liked my talents, and they liked me, so they came to me with the idea. It was, based off because I had the Green Lantern tattoo. I didn't make it any secret that I was a comic book fan. I wear comic book shirts all the time, so one of the head writers, a guy named Brian Gewirtz, he was there. He wrote a lot of stuff for The Rock and all that. He was our head writer, and he kind of always wanted to do a superhero gimmick, but never found the right guy. And then I came along, and they came to me with the idea, and I said, sure, I'll give it a shot. I'll see what I can do with it. And that was in 2001, and here we are.
Well, I have to ask you.
17 years later, still rocking it.
No doubt. I have to ask your opinion on this because I'm a big superhero fan as well. Are we finally going to see a good Green Lantern movie, or is it just going to be in the next Justice League movie? I've heard rumors about a movie in 2020. What have you heard?
I heard there might actually be a Green Lantern Corps movie.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. It isn't exactly the easiest character to bring to the big screen because everything has to be CGI with his power set.
Right.
That was one of the complaints about the last movie. There was too. Well, what do y'all think they're really going to make energy constructs? That has to be CGI.
Right.
And the Green Lantern deals with a lot of space stuff, aliens and shit. So
right.
Unless they go find some real aliens, that's pretty much going to be CGI too. And Ryan Reynolds was perfect for Deadpool to write out for the Green Lantern, and it just didn't work. It was cool to see him on the big screen, for what it was.
Yeah, I agree.
But it just wasn't the right tone for the movie.
Yeah, I agree.
Comic doesn't necessarily mean comedy in the comic book world.
That's right.
And the Green Lantern's not a wisecracking type character, so it has to be done right.
Yeah, I agree.
And it might be better in a team setting. just establish the character in a better way, get a better introduction for the character. So we'll see.
For those fans who may not know, you have 2 young children. How does it feel to not only be a larger-than-life figure in the wrestling ring, but to also play a superhero in the ring and have your kids see their dad in such a cool way?
They like it. It's not like I walk around in a costume at home or anything. I'm just dad to them. When you're dad, sometimes you got to be the bad guy because you got to tell them to clean the room and and all this type of stuff. So I actually went and read to my son's class. He was a kindergartner at the time, and I showed up. There was a Read Across America program, and the school reached out to me and asked me would I come. I said sure.
Yeah.
And I came in full costume, and they all, and my son, they were all kind of surprised, but because even Sebastian, my son Sebastian, was just kind of staring at me.
Sure
I don't wear this at home. He doesn't see me like this.
I'm sure he's the coolest kid in school after that.
Yeah. So, I'm just dad at home.
Yeah.
Which is not, I shouldn't say just dad because that's my favorite job.
Well, let's talk about your appearance at the Royal Rumble this year. I'm sure that was very exciting for you to be back and to get that huge, and I can't express that enough, pop from the fans. What took place to get you in the Rumble?
I think that, there've been talks before about me doing a surprise in the Rumble, but I was either with a different company or injured or something like that. So it just wasn't the right time before. And this time it was just the right time. They wanted a surprise. I had posted up an Instagram picture, and this is how the social media can be used in a really wonderful way. I posted a picture of the WCW Cruiserweight title, which I still have, and a replica of the WWE Cruiserweight title. And this was around that time that Enzo Amore got fired, so they didn't have a champion.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just held up the belts and said, hey, WWE, I know a guy. And that was just me being funny because, if anybody that follows my social media account knows, I don't use it just for promotional. I like to interact with my fans, and it's a way for me to actually, be creative and just put out a little bit more content, just to entertain. I'm an entertainer at heart. And so that was just me being goofy, just being funny. And it went viral at a time when they were tossing around names. WWE was tossing around names for the Rumble. That picture went viral, and it kind of was like, hey, let's bring in a Hurricane. And, the pop from the Philly crowd was, unbelievable. Such a great moment. It's a great moment backstage with the boys. So I owe Philly a debt of gratitude.
You started out in professional wrestling at a very young age. I believe you were in your late teens. When I first stepped in the ring, I was 13. Wow.
In terms of getting involved with a company, not wrestling wise, but in terms of I walked to an indie show that's a couple miles away from my house. I walked there and just hung out. It was a day show, so I hung out till it was over just to see if I could talk to anybody, about how I could get this path started. And and I got hooked up with the company. I would help them put up the rings and set up and do whatever I could. Opportunity to train whenever I could. And I did that. Then I was a referee at 15, and at 16 I had my first match, and that was 1991.
Wow. Who influenced you back in that time? Can you remember somebody that you really made a huge impact on you early on?
Well, not really, because there were no real cruiserweights back then. It wasn't even a division, So, for me, it was a bit of a struggle because a lot of the bigger guys didn't want to work with somebody my size, And I was really small back then. I was still I had my first match. I was in 11th grade. No, I was a senior. 91 I was a senior. So, I had a real tough time in terms of, the big guys that would try to, take liberties, try to hurt me, try to show me it was a big guy sport, that sort of thing. But, like I discussed earlier, I had a pretty decorated amateur background, so I could handle myself.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they were going to beat me up, it wasn't going to be easy for them, and I was going to fight back every time. So I kind of had to prove myself in terms of that. And about 95, 96, I was doing an indie show, and that's where I met Matt and Jeff Hardy, Shannon Moore, Champagne, a couple other guys. And I was like, man, these guys really get it too. There's some other good guys now. and we just all clicked right away. And then shortly thereafter, we formed Omega, and we kind of all inspired each other from that point forward.
Do you see yourself going back to the WWE at some point, whether it's one last run in the ring or maybe even as a trainer or having a backstage role?
It's definitely something that could be done, for sure. I think with what I've done in Ring of Honor, it's easy. If you're out of sight, you're out of mind. There are people that see me all over the world at these indie shows, but that doesn't necessarily mean that WWE is seeing it. But, the stuff that I've done with Ring of Honor so far, the feedback I've been getting from that's fantastic. And it's, it's like, man, you can still go, so it just depends. The timing has to be right. If it happens, that would be cool. If it doesn't happen, that's cool too. I've had such a blessed career, it would be greedy for me to ask for anything more.
Well, I like to end a lot of my interviews with the name association game. I'll say something like a name from your past or a moment in your past, and you can give me a brief description. You can give me a one-word answer, whatever comes to heart. Are you ready?
Sure.
Your backstage segments with The Rock.
Man, he was the great one. He really dug my character. We got along great. But it wasn't like we were great friends before that. He just dug the character and loved the entertainment aspect of it. And that whole run with The Rock was only supposed to be one backstage interview. That was going to be it, or one backstage segment. That was going to be it. Mm-hmm. But it worked so well, it clicked so well, we gelled so well that it just kind of flowed into what it was. And it was Rock's idea. Rock pushed for me to go over in that match. So I owe him the world, and I can't thank him enough.
Well, listen, for anybody listening to this that has not seen that, I highly encourage you to go Google it, find it on the WWE Network, something. They're extremely entertaining and very funny. All right, Rey Mysterio.
Rey Mysterio is one of the greatest of all time, no doubt. He's an inspiration to a lot of smaller guys, inspiration to myself. So, and a generally really good guy too, so I always love seeing Rey. He was one of the first guys after my Ring of Honor match aired, he was actually the first guy to text me because, hey, I just saw your stuff, man, really good. So it's funny you mentioned his name.
All right, Jerry Lawler.
Jerry Lawler is one of the greats too, very underutilized in WWE in terms of his in-ring stuff, because if you saw his stuff from Memphis area, best in-ring performers, one of the best punchers of all time, but he was so good on commentary and, like myself, so good at the entertainment, comedy stuff, related to that, and you never got to see serious Jerry, nowhere near as much as they could have used him in WWE, so yeah. Definitely a legend, and, I got to wrestle him on a pay-per-view, and I consider that an honor.
All right, one of your former tag team partners, Kane.
Kane is a mayor now, so that's pretty interesting.
Big time.
He is a super intelligent guy, which makes him even scarier. Because when you're little, you want the big guys to be dumb, so at least you got that advantage over them. But not Kane, And you know what? I think he's a really uncredited career, as far as longevity. He's really up there, I think because of the association with The Undertaker, sometimes that casts a little bit of a shadow, but that's really not fair to him. He's one of the best big men that's ever done it.
Lastly, Tajiri.
Tajiri? Why did you pick Tajiri? This is a strange one. Tajiri's a super talented individual as well. I had a couple good matches with him in WWE.
Yeah, I remember
took a couple kicks to the mouth from him in WWE.
Yep.
And actually, I'm the last guy to beat him in WWE. His farewell match was with me.
Right.
So I was the guy who, it would have been nice to send him out in a good way, but they, used it to further my heel character, Gregory Helms, at the time.
Yeah.
And so it was what it was, but, I always have fun working to Jerry.
Well, man, thank you so much for doing this interview with me. Congratulations on being part of UCW. I wish you all the best of luck at their shows.
Very cool, man. I hope to see all the fans there. We're going to tear it down.
Well, as a reminder to the fans, you can see Hurricane Helms and many other great superstars in Universal Championship Wrestling on Saturday, August the 11th in Barnesville, Georgia for Hometown Throwdown. Visit the UCW website at ucwtv.com to purchase your tickets. Again, that's ucwtv.com for more information. Also follow them on social media. Again, Hurricane Helms, it's been my pleasure, man. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with me today.
And thank you guys, man. I hope you can make it to the show.
Absolutely. Take care.